Hi there, this is Dawn. Welcome back to my art room and welcome to my YouTube channel. I thought before I move anything, I'd show you my chaos. You know, there's just like I have just like got everything out that I own almost. Maybe not quite, but you know, close. Because in this one I'm working on my Birdie page panel for my Nature's Treasures project that was from Susanna from Vintage Blend Studios Ballarat retreat, where she created some little pieces of artwork for us to do what we wanted to do. And I cut mine up into 4 blocks. I've now finished the previous one, which was a combination of all the bits that I put together in one panel. And I was pretty happy with how I finished it, so I thought I would show you that. And now I'm working on the bird one. And what I wanted to do is go back to my original idea when I used a variety of fabrics to create the animal, which is the bunny one. And I hadn't done that again because I was doing mushrooms, but I thought I'll do that for the bird. And so I've just picked out bits of all the fabric for one bird and thought that I would work on the second bird with you. There'll be a little stop and start. I'll show you how I did the leaves. I've decided to do those in exactly the same way as these ones, and the berries in the same way. They kind of remind me of our blackberries that we have here. They have a couple of different colours, so yeah, I thought I'd show you that just as a little touch up. I just outlined these little bugs that Susanna had added that I actually didn't notice until I started painting actually. Added, you know, all of this, did a little acorn like I did on the other one, added a couple of little bits of fabric. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm pretty okay with that. So I thought with this birdie, he's got a nice big belly. And this one I added just a weeny little bit of lace, actually, a bit of this from this edging that I had. So I thought I'd added him, added all the fabrics out of everything that I've been using so they all kind of match. And I'll put some little stitches to hold it down. At the moment, I've just used, you know, one of these fabric glue pens so that it will stay there. And then I thought I might embroider it. I've got this piece here. These are cottage garden threads. They're not my dyed threads, but I have them. And I actually thought I might do the bird in that. Like, he can cope with some light and dark, I think, because he's only going to have a couple of like highlight marks on him. He won't be completely embroidered. And I'm also going to use some of my dyed thread for the branches. In this one I used some of just a plain green thread that Susanna had given us, and that's perfectly lovely for there. I used my dyed threads for the leaves, but I thought I might there's a lot more branches here, and I thought I might go and have a look, and this was one threads that I dyed before we went to Ballarat, and I thought that will look all right. It'll go with this one here, which is the leaf one that I used, which was in those more sort of neon colours. Yeah, that's my planning process. So for this bird's belly, on the Alice fabric, there's this rose that I quite liked because I thought he needs pale for his tummy, his belly, and I thought the rose might actually look all right there. So the way that I did this, There's no real art to this. This was about me working out. So his head comes in there. So I need to have the rose here. I kind of flip it up, turn it backwards. I know I can see his wing under there. So I'm just going to come around there. I know that's his belly there. And I'll go around here even though I actually don't need it. Some of that will get covered. And it's probably not going to matter. I missed, what I'm trying to do is just, I could make a paper pattern. I could. I can't be bothered. I know, it's terrible, isn't it? But I just went, oh, look, I think I can manage. It's such a tiny little bit. All right, let's see how this goes. I think it's all right. I don't have to really. Oh, look at that. That little bit of writing in there, that's kind of nice, isn't it? I wonder if it could go down. Oh, I'm always thinking of the next bit that I could do. I was thinking, could it go down a wing or something? I might try and put it on the side. I know it's got a bit of blue, but that'll actually be hidden because there'll be a wing there. All right, so there's his tummy of a rose. All right. Yeah, that looks all right there. All right, cool. I've got a bit of this fabric. Now, where is it? This one here. That I thought might, what I tried to do here was like a little bit of leaf pattern and a little bit of leaf pattern, sort of maybe kind of feathers. And I thought maybe his wing could be a bit of that wing anyway. Let's give that a whirl just to see whether or not that will work. I need to know. Okay, so I'm going to take that off there because he's got a bit more wing that I need to involve here. So I'm going to come down here. Oh, maybe that could have another colour there. Yeah, all right, forget that bit. Let's add a bit of that there. Oh, goodness, I haven't got my iron on, so I'll just have to deal with that in a minute. Anyway, I hope you're all good. Well, you are. It's actually the Saturday of the Easter weekend. We had a couple of flat-out days that involved us supporting my mum, who is selling her home. It went on the market today. I'm going to do that just to see whether or not just that colourway will work. Anyway, yeah, her house went on the market today. And so yesterday it was all hands on deck, helping them finish off, just, tarting it up and getting it to look nice. And they were pretty happy with the response that they've had to date. They actually have had an offer, but it's subject to a whole lot of different things. Oh, yeah, there we go. His little tummy is going to go in there. I can put some stitching around there. One little wing. Should I do the other wing in the same colourway? Maybe. Maybe he needs another bit of that going down there. Let's do that. So, yeah, from sort of since, I don't know, Friday maybe, we've, by the time we got home last night and I didn't do anything. I just couldn't hardly move. It's a really big thing, isn't it? And they're in their 90s, so it's even bigger for them. So my sister and I were there yesterday till, well, not tea time. We got done earlier than that, and we wanted them to sort of like take it easy this morning. There was really only make the bed and have some brekkie, and that was it. That's all they had to do today. So that was all right. Oh, because that pattern goes like that, I think it works. All right, what do you want for a head? I used a bit of this. Let me see. I don't know whether I really want a red head. I think a red head's probably a bit much. Now. Oh no, I was going to use a caterpillar. No, I don't know what colour I want to use for that little head bit. Because I've got to put an eye in, some of these patterns will be a distraction. What else is in here? Let me see. I've got all of these little bits and pieces here that came. Could he have that? Oh, let's give it a try. Or that one. Maybe I'll go with the pink. Are you yelling at me? Yeah, I'm going to go with the pink and let's just see what happens. All right, so I thought with this one, I traced his beak off as well. I thought that was just as easy as anything else, already having a beak on there. I'm going to have his little neck come down just a little bit beyond what was there. This is my funny way of doing things. Probably not the way most people would do it. But like I said, it's this teeny weeny bit of stuff that I thought I didn't hardly need to really do a pattern for. But if you're worried about it, do a pattern for it. I'm just thinking, can I get away with, let's try, he's got this little top knot thing. And I can add some stitching to, all right, looks like a chook at the minute. Can you see that? No, you probably can't see it, but I can. Looks a bit like a chicken. Maybe it's the shape of the beak. I think I did a rounded beak rather than a sharp pointed beak. But I thought rather than try and cut out a little beak, which was probably just going to fray away if it was going to do anything. Oh, there we go. I reckon that's probably okay. Let's see where his eye kind of is. It's here. It's got a little bit of a thing going on there. That's his beak here. Yeah, that looks all right. Do you think it looks all right? I wonder if you think it looks all right. Oh, I think it looks all right. All right, you know what? I'm going to go with that. So what I did was I just simply, and I haven't got too many bits, which is even better because I had a few more bits there. Just all I'm doing is because they're so little, trying to stick pins in it isn't always as successful. They can move. Yeah, good. All right, well, that was quicker than I thought it was going to be. Yep, good job. There we go. I really need to get my act into gear as far as my next prompt for my Roxy's Journal of Stitchery still life. Gosh, that birdie almost looks real. Who would have known that would have happened? So yeah, I really need to get onto my still life, but I'm on a mission with this. And I thought I need to just do it. I considered this as being some of these branches, but it's a bit overload. I did try it on the other one and, you know, they all got muddled up. So I decided to just do a backstitch embroidery for those, for the, you know, for the twiggy bits. But I thought as part of the bottom, you know, how I've been adding, you know, bits of fabric and things around the outside edge, that maybe I can add a little bit of that, you know, just to add to the story. You know, that's just kind of where my brain's going with it. All right, they're done. I'm going to use a neutral thread. That might be a bit of a challenge. I wonder if this would be the best option, just to stitch. All right, there's got to be another one here somewhere. Yep, here. This one. I don't know what will be the better one here. Maybe this one. And then maybe this one. I don't want to sort of make a feature of it. Oh. You know what? Let's give it a try. If I don't like it, I'll take it off. It's as simple as that. I'm going to do one so you can see where I'm going and come back when I'm ready to do a bit of the embroidery. I don't want to do a lot of embroidery, so my aim here is to get the birdie pieces down and then come back with just sort of simple embroidery bits. You know, they didn't have much. There's a bit of an outline. You know, this one's got a few feather stitches. That might happen. Same thing with here. I'm actually quite pleased with how that looks because you kind of got these different bits in here. Funny how just some things just work, don't they? And you don't always know till you have a try. And I figure that at this point, trying is, you know, it's not going to hurt if you don't like it, pull it off. It's a teeny squishy little bit of fabric that no one is even going to notice. I'm just going to try and put really tiny, weeny little overcast stitches because, like I said, I don't want to make a feature of it. Yeah, this was kind of good. It's disappearing in there. And I haven't completely covered it in glue, so it's not going to stick with the, you know, the glue isn't really going to be the thing that holds it down. It's the stitching that's going to hold it down. And I'm hoping with the little bits of embroidery, because I'll do an outline here where his head was, and I'll do some feather stitches in here if I remember what they look like. What did they look like? Oh, not really. They were just kind of like some stitches here. So that's all right. I'll outline the beak. You know, they're barely threads now. They will probably break away a little bit. It's a stressful time selling a house, isn't it? And I can't imagine, you know, we were in our 60s when we sold our home and I was wrecked by the end of it. They're in their 90s. Mind you, they've done it way more times than I have. But I'm assuming this one's going to be probably their last. They're in their 90s and they're going to a place that's, you know, for retired people. It's a smaller unit. They live on a very big block with a very big block of land, which is just too much for them to manage now. They've got a big house, so they're going to a smaller house into a smaller town. They're not going to be in the same town where we live now. They're going to move out, which it's not very far, but in the country everything's a little bit further away than it is when you're in a city, but not far from here. Yeah, and it's supported, so that's probably good. I mean, they're both in good enough health at the minute, but I guess, you know, you never know what's around the corner. So yeah, it'll be good for them. It'll be good when this is over because it is a stressful time. But, you know, they've had a really good response, so that's encouraging for them. My stepfather would like it to be done and dusted now, and he'd like to move into the new place and that'd be it. It was all over. He'd probably just like to go to sleep and wake up and it's all done, but that's probably not going to happen. That's all right. They've got family. He's got family and my mum's got family, so while I'm probably live the closest, his son's not far away. And we're all still fit and able to support them with that move, so that's all right. So yeah, just what you do. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, so tomorrow is a family day, supporting the Easter bunnies, and then Monday I've got a friend coming over. I need to do some of my own housework. Helping her just made me think about the fact. But today I was like, no, I'm not doing housework today. I'm going to stitch. Just decided I needed a day off. Because, yes, in your 60s, you still need, you know, it's a struggle. Gosh, I've got all these bits all sticking to the wadding now. But I want to get this bag finished. Number one, I want to use it for all my dyed laces and threads and things. That's my purpose of this bag. I have a few rice bags now that have a purpose. I've got a Christmas one and I've got other embroidery ones and a Japanese one, and this is going to be for dyed fabrics because I thought it's just in the same time frame. Cool. All right, so I think you can see what I'm doing. I will come back when I've got both of these little birds finished, and the next bit I'll just show you how I did the leaves, and then I'll probably show you how I actually just went about doing the beads for the berries. I used a combination of beads. Cool. All right. Hope you're having fun with your panel if you're doing one. I'm happy with this little birdie at this point. I think he's going to go with what I did with the bunny. I think they all work together. Cool. All right. I'll be back in a second. Well, I've done a fair bit. I just started stitching last night and kind of almost forgot about you. I finished the birds. Nothing much more than what I already started to show you. I did little overcast stitches first, and then I went around. I started to use a variegated thread. Think this one, and there was too much of this pale. I did a little bit, and then it got really pale, and I thought it's just not going to work. So I resorted to this one, which is a very dark sort of steel grey. It's not black. It might look black on the screen, but it's not. Just to give the bird some highlights. I haven't done his feet yet because I wanted to do the stems first. This little birdie, I was really happy with how he ended up. Did a few extra stitches just in his wings. This one's got a little bit in his body and his head. Yeah, just sort of kind of bit in his tail. Not much more than what you actually saw me do. But I've been working on the leaves, and I just thought, and this is what I did on the other panel, and I thought I'll come and show you how I go about that. I've started to panic because there's all I've got left. So I thought if I do all of the leaves to here, if I only get to there, when I come to that bit about where I add fabrics down the side, if I have to cover a couple because I've actually run out of thread, it's not going to matter. I might not run out of thread, but, I thought better to be safer than sorry. I did a simple back stitch for the branches. No, stem stitch I did, just to give it a bit more bulk than back stitch. Stem stitch means you just get it a little bit thicker. A little bit for the little prickles and a little lazy daisy on top of the couple of berries that had that actual design. So the leaves are an embroidery stitch. It's one of those ones that I can never remember. Let me have a look. I wrote them all out in my so it's a fly stitch but close together. All right, so fly if you're looking at it. So I started at the point of the leaf, so I'm going to work on this leaf here, and all I've done is used the thread as it's come off the roll of where I've wound it on. I start with a long stitch to start with, and then by going back close to where that stitch started, coming down to that V, going back up to where that previous stitch started, and then back to the base of that very first stitch and coming over with just a little stitch to hold it down. And that's it. I just keep going. I thought about, did I want to do some leaves differently, and decided no, I was happy to have them all the same, because by using this variegated thread that I dyed, I've got a lot of difference. There are some that are very, yellow and green, yellow at the bottom, yellow at the top, all green, bit of variation. This one's got lots of colours in it. Excuse me. So I just thought that was a way of getting some variation in the leaves rather than going through, fabric collage or adding bits of fabric. I just decided that I wanted to do embroidery and really nothing else. I'll add little bits of fabric to go around the sides, but that's pretty much it as far as any other fabric type collage. Sometimes if I'm not sure where that stitch should go, I lay the thread there to just see what it covers. You'll notice that there's quite a bit of the black outline from the original artwork of Susanna's, and I've decided not to try and cover it. I'm happy with leaving it there because number one, gives it a bit of an outline, and I think it looks all right. So yeah, that's me. The next bit after my leaves are done, I need to do the berries, so I can come back and show you those. But just wanted to do this one with you because I've done them all the same way really. Haven't done anything different. But I've been sitting here thinking to myself that I really needed to have a bit of a rearrange in my art room. At the moment it just feels like I've got stuff everywhere. And I tend to want to have things close at hand, so I don't try and bury them in cupboards or drawers or boxes, but they look messy in the overall room. And this room where my art room was actually like a family room. It's in the middle of the house. We have a lounge at the front of the house, a separate one that we use as our lounge. And when we bought the house, I really wanted 4 bedrooms because I wanted to have an art room. But Paul got enamoured by the shed that was here and felt that that was really going to serve his purposes. So because there was this extra family room area, didn't have any cupboards in it, they'd had a couch set up and a TV perhaps for their children, because sort of that way there's the extra bedrooms. Behind me is a family bathroom, so it's kind of like, you know, maybe what they might have used for their kids. They have teenagers, but we don't have children that live here all the time. Yes, my grandchildren come and stay. They like coming in here as much as me, so that's all right. That serves that purpose. We've got a very big outdoor patio veranda area that when there's lots of us, and it's all covered in, so when lots of us are here together, we tend to congregate out there. But anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is that it's in the middle of the house, and sometimes it just looks a bit too messy. I've got my artwork that I've done up on the walls to try and, you know, make it look like it's a studio sort of space, but it's the workings of the room that's starting to frustrate me somewhat. The sorts of craft that I'm into is lots of, you know, you need lots of stuff. And because I like to paint as well as sew, I have that as part of the room. And so here, well, there's no more room to put another stitch on this side, but I've still got this bit to do. I'm just going to come up in and put some straight stitches there. The little overstitch here creates a nice vein in the leaf, and I like the look of it. I've used this stitch on so many things now because I like how it looks. I like how it sits. It's a bit thread hungry, because what ends up happening is you get almost the same amount of thread used on the back as you do on the front, which if you're desperate for thread, it's probably not the stitch you want to do for this sort of work. And yeah, like I said, I was starting to do a slight panic because it's a thread I dyed, and while I could get all the dyes out and do it again, I can't be bothered. And I just thought, just keep my fingers crossed and hope that I'll end up with the right amount. So as you can see, every leaf is different, but they will go together. So they look like they're growing on the same vine. And I'll do the beading like I did on the previous panel, which kind of just looks a bit like blackberries that we have growing here wild. We don't go blackberry picking because, well, out in the wild, out in nature, because they're a weed and they get sprayed, and you never, well, people often put signs up to say blackberry spraying or something like that. You couldn't ever really be completely sure and feel safe about picking blackberries to take home and have your blackberry jam. Nobody grows them intentionally unless they've got a very secure space, because they just take over the garden. And as I said, they're considered a noxious weed here, which is a bit of a shame because I love them. I love to eat them. I don't love the plant. In various places, we've had blackberry come up. Who knows how it gets there? The birds bring it probably. So yeah, mostly people try and get rid of it. Don't have it growing intentionally, that's for sure. So some leaves have, the movement of the leaf. With this sort of stitch, you get that movement so that they don't just all lie sort of straight. Some leaves curl around, have a natural curl in it. It's harder to keep that, that pointy bit, which is like on a blackberry leaf or a, berry leaf, which is why I've left that black outline, because I think that will help to keep the shape. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Cool. Well, panic might have been preempted, I don't know, but I've still got quite a few leaves, and that's my zucchini slice, so I'm going to chuff. Nearly done. As I feared, yes, I ran out of thread. I got those little bits there. Well, did those leaves, and then I thought if I just, last little bit of thread that was on the bobbin, I used to just sort of start there and then added the bit of fabric. And I wanted to do this Cantha style stitching prior to beading, because once you start beading, they just get sort of, caught up in it. And I've just got a couple more rows to do here, so I thought I'll just come and do that with you. In particular, I was thinking about the people who maybe haven't done this type of stitching. What I did on the sides here was just sort of went along the side there, and did the same here. I was able to sneak in and do a couple of stitches, but because there's all this embroidery, I'm not going to worry. Did all of those rows there. Just saw a little bit that I could have maybe put there, but no, it'll be all right. And so I'm just up to some straight lines now. I've got just a couple more to do prior to doing a bit of beading. And then I'll be ready to start thinking about the lining and putting it together. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to put on the base. Realised that I don't have any more of this fabric other than the words that I cut out, and I had thought of putting them inside, but while I've been sitting here doing this, thinking, what will I do? I wondered whether I could connect them all and how they would look on the base. So that's just kind of my next lot of thinking about this little project. Some of my lines aren't as straight as others, but I'm all right with it. Once it gets finished, you don't really notice if the lines aren't all straight. if you're worried about it, then my suggestion to you would be rule them. I don't feel the need. If it goes really horribly wrong, I pull it out and I have another go at it. And, I don't just leave things going off on weird angles. But yeah, I think they're reasonably straight. I think I've got a reasonably straight eye. We get the little here and there. And I'm aiming to come back across the top of this one here. So I think I've probably only got, excuse me, probably only 2 more rows really to do for this block of this stitching. So yeah, this helps to hold down those little patches of fabric. I haven't used anything else. The only thing that I sewed separately was the lace. It needed some extra little stitches to go across it because the running stitch doesn't necessarily catch every last little bit. And so I put some little overcast stitches in those that you really can't see prior to doing this straight stitching. Cool. Well, hope if you're having a go at this, that you're enjoying it and doing what you want to do with it. There's been lots of ideas that I've seen on the Facebook page and, people sharing what they've done when they've been working on the panels. Some people have done books and scrolls and bowls, all sorts of things. But I'd really decided on doing a rice bag even before I started because I didn't want a book, I didn't want a scroll, I didn't want any of those things, and thought, well, what can I do with it? My friend's actually using the panels. She's made a tote bag and she's adding the panels to her tote bag. So I haven't seen it for a while since she started it. We haven't caught up with each other, but we will in the next couple of weeks. So it'll be nice to see where she's going with that. When we catch up, we usually have a bit of a show and tell and bring our projects that we've been working on. It's nice to share with each other, and nothing like seeing something in real life. Cool. All right, I'm getting there. Just gibbering on here while I do these last couple of rows. What I do try and do is go catch an edge to make sure that holds down. I've used a bit of the Alice in Wonderland fabric on it because I like it, and I thought if I've got enough, I don't know if I've got enough, I just have to go through, but I was hoping to line it in the Alice in Wonderland fabric because I just thought that would look nice, to be quite honest. It's not always that the bag is always chock-a-block full and you don't see what the inside looks like, but I will share with you what I've done when I've when I'm doing it. Good. All right, nearly there. And my intention is to join the squares with the not with a concealed seam, with the seams joined together like that, so that they'll go together, and then I'll do a blanket stitch, which is how I've done some of my others. So that's my plan. So even though I've put these stitches in here, there'll still be more stitching going on along here, and I'll probably just use the same crochet cotton that I've used throughout. Bit of extra strength and normal thread. I did forget to say to you before, the thread that I used here was a 2-ply cotton. It was, you know, definitely thicker than these. Something that I picked up, I think, from an op shop. I certainly don't remember buying it on purpose. I think it was just in a bag. But, you know, the thing that I love about it is the sheen. And that's the difference. Somebody asked me one time about using the paint blocks, you know, like the ink tense blocks. You don't get that sheen. I've used them plenty of times on lots of things, and I'm happy to use them in many circumstances. Certainly use them to paint the pictures on these. And I thought about doing that here. I thought, well, if I paint them, because I did that with many of the other leaves, painted them first and then added fabric or whatever over the top of them. But it's the sheen that I thought I was going to miss if I used some just paint. It would have been quite flat. The Inktense blocks are supposed to become permanent after they've dried and you can iron it. But I still find quite often that the colour comes off, mostly on my hands. And so that I find a little bit frustrating, but maybe it's just the way I do it and I don't do it right or something. Cool. All right, I'm going to get the beads out now, sort them all out, and then I'll probably sign off, and you'll see. Oh, sorry, big I've got these beads. Beads were an obsession of mine for a long time, and so I have lots. So what I did was I used some of these. I've bought these on a string. These are sort of faceted, so they're quite pretty, but there's single ones in the bottom here. I'll use those, not the leaves, but these little ones. And then I've got these darker ones that are kind of a bit of multicolour, a bit of sort of purpley, bluey, coppery colour. And that's what I used the last time. I just need to find, I think I used this needle the last time. It's very straight. It's probably like a milliner's needle, you know, it's completely straight. And I just used a red thread. I considered painting the berries first prior to beading them, but changed my mind. I just thought I didn't actually think I really needed to. Just using a plain red, just normal sewing thread. If I was beading on something that was going to take a little bit more wear and tear, I might use something a bit stronger. But for this, it's purely decoration, and you know, while it might get bumped, it's not going to take any wear and tear. I usually start with just 2 little stitches to start with, just so making sure that my knot doesn't pull through. This is quite open weave fabric, and I like to put them in this little bowl just because it makes it a bit easier to get them out. And I thought that I would just randomly pick the beads, and then I changed my mind and I sort of planned them out a little bit more so that I have the lightest colour at the top where the light might hit the berry, the natural light, then the reddish ones, and then the dark ones at the bottom. And I'm just letting the bead sit however it wants to sit. I'm not trying to position it. I don't think that it needs that to happen. No, it's not a beading needle, but these milliner needles which it's one of those. This was a size 3 to 9. John James is a brand. Is 3 the littlest or is 9 the littlest? I don't really know, but there's one out of that hole there. And so I presume, and I'm as comfortable as I can be that that's that one. And that might or might not be. I don't actually know now. Possibly anyway. I think that's what it is. Goes through the beads all right. That's all that matters to me. I don't have to thread one of those rotten beading needles that I will use them often. They're sharp. They go through every bead that you pick up, but they're awful to thread. And there are just times when I just don't want to be the bother with it. Sorry, Paul's banging away in the kitchen. If you can hear that noise, that's all it is. I don't know what he's doing. Playing in there, doing something. So, yeah. Cool. But I thought for those of you who are interested in thinking about beading, this is how I do it. There's no real, I couldn't tell you that it was an absolute technique. It may or may not be. I don't know if there's any rules or regulations about it. I've got no idea. Now he's going to cough. We've got it all tonight. But this is how I'm doing it. Some people put a second stitch in it to make the beads sit flat, and that's important for the look of what it is that they're doing. Oh, goodness gracious, he's coughing and sneezing and carrying on. But for this, because I want it to look like the little beads in a berry, the little, I don't know what you call them, the berry, I don't think they're seeds. Oh, they might be a seed. I don't know what you really call them. The components of the berry, let's call them that, because I don't really know what else to call them. Cool. And yeah, there's my little berry, my little beaded berry. Sorry, get you in a light, as you can see. That bead's going to do that sometimes and that sometimes, and I think it'll still be all right. All right. Oh, yep, I've still got some of those out. Quite happy with how the birds turned out, really. I think they look like the little birds that Susanna drew, I think. Close to, anyway. But with a little bit of their own character. And all I'm doing, I'm not following every single circle here because my beads are a different size to those. But I'm still following the basic shape of the berry. And that's here. I might just put a few of them in there. They're easier to get out of. I find they're okay to get off the mat. I quite often just put my beads on the felt. They don't run away, that's for sure, which is good. I'm sorry I can't tell you where I bought the beads from. They could have been from anywhere. I was a bit of a collector of them. Often the craft shows used to have bead suppliers. I think there was a couple of suppliers in Melbourne, whether they're still around. There was Bead Company and Jungle Beads or something. But I bought a lot online. I find that they're are really cheap online, or they were. I don't know whether they still are. I've got so many I don't need to buy any for a long time. But, you know, you'd buy packets of beads that had thousands in them and they were just a few dollars. I mean, I've bought special beads. There was a place in Melbourne, inner Melbourne, Beads Galore or something like that. Oh my gosh, that was like Beater's Paradise. It was when beading was really popular, people making their own jewellery, and while I never actually made jewellery, I've always used them in my textile art. So I've collected beads in all sorts of colours, but a few people have said that you can buy them from, you know, like our Kmart, which is, you know, sort of department store, but I think Spotlight have them. I'm sure there's lots of places where you can get them from. And I wouldn't be able to tell you where I got these. As I said, I've had them for too long. Cool. All right. Well, I think I'm going to leave you here. I think I'll get a thumbnail done before I publish it with all the beads finished. And then for this block, for this square. And the next time I come back with this project will be putting it together. So I'll need to cut out a base, which is the 8-inch square, and then determine the lining, which will still be the 5 pieces, so the 4 sides and the base in the 8-inch square. It's already got wadding. I don't have to do that. I think it's going to be, I think it'll hold its own once there's things in it. It's not the stiffest wadding, but I'm hoping it'll be all right. I guess until I get going with it, I won't really know. Cool. All right. Hopefully you can see that okay. And you like what I did. I'm happy with it. I'll get on with that and I'll come back to you in a few days. Maybe, you know, sometime next week. I'll get this one sorted though for now. Cool. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.